You know the feeling. You pull out your phone, you open up a map, and poof, there it is. That tiny pulsating blue dot that just says, you are here. It's so normal, so instant, we barely even think about it. But that little dot, well, that's the final act of one of the most incredible engineering shows in human history.
So how does it work? I mean, really, how does that little device in your hand talk to giant machines orbiting, 20,000 kilometers above us to pinpoint your location with just ridiculous accuracy? Let's get into it, because the answer is this amazing mix of simple geometry, a machine the size of our planet, and a really surprising twist from Albert Einstein.
All right, so here's the game plan. We are going to break this whole thing down. We'll kick things off with the basic geometry, then we'll look at the massive infrastructure that makes it all possible. After that, we'll explore the constant battle for precision and uncover the mind-bending physics that holds the whole thing together. Then we'll see how GPS fits into a global team, and finally, what's next for this invisible utility our world now completely depends on.
First things first, the magic blue dot. Let's get right to the core principle. And for a second, I want you to forget about satellites, forget about atomic clocks. At its heart, GPS is just a very, very clever geometry problem. The magic word that makes it all happen is trilateration. And the most important word in that definition is distance. See, GPS works by measuring how far you are from a bunch of known points. That's it. That's the whole secret. It's not about angles, it's not about directions, it's purely about knowing your distance. And hey, this is a super common mix-up, so let's just clear the air right now. You've probably heard of triangulation, right? That's what surveyors use. They measure angles from a known line to figure out where something is. But your phone? It's not measuring any angles. It's using trilateration, which is all about measuring the distance to those satellites way up in space. The key takeaway: GPS is an absolute master of measuring distance. Okay, so let's build this picture in our heads. Imagine one satellite pings your phone. Your phone figures out it's, say, 20,000 kilometers away from that satellite. So that means you could be anywhere on the surface of a giant, invisible sphere with that satellite right at the center. Okay, now let's add a second satellite. It creates its own sphere of distance. Now, where those two spheres overlap, you get a perfect circle. We're getting closer. Now, a third satellite sphere will slice through that circle at just 2 points. Now, one of those points is usually somewhere ridiculous, like deep inside the Earth or flying out in space, so your phone can usually make a good guess. But for real precision, and this is key, to solve a critical timing problem, we need a fourth satellite. Its sphere locks you into just one of those 2 points, giving you your exact 3D position, your latitude, longitude, and your altitude.
So how on earth is your phone measuring thousands of kilometers? I mean, it doesn't have a giant cosmic tape measure. No, it has something much better: a clock. See, each satellite is constantly broadcasting a signal that's basically a super precise timestamp. It's saying, the time is this, and I am right here. Your receiver gets that signal and checks its own little clock. That tiny, tiny delay between when the signal was sent and when it arrived, you multiply that by the speed of light, and bam, that's your distance. It's a simple formula, but it all hinges on one massive challenge: perfectly synchronized, ultra-precise time. And that crucial fourth satellite, its main job is actually to fix the time. It corrects for the tiny errors in your phone's cheap little clock, solving that final timing puzzle and making the whole system work for everybody.
So we've got the theory, simple geometry, right? Well, to actually make this work in the real world, that takes an infrastructure so huge it spans the entire planet and way, way beyond. Let's look at how this all comes together in what is basically a machine the size of Earth. The whole global positioning system is really broken down into 3 big pieces. You've got the space segment, that's the satellites. You've got the control segment, those are the ground crews, the brains of the operation. And then there's the user segment, and yeah, that's you and your phone. All 3 have to be working in perfect sync. Let's start up in space. We are talking about a constellation of around 31 active satellites, all orbiting 20,200 kilometers above us. And they're not just scattered up there randomly. They're arranged in 6 very specific orbital planes, kind of like 6 giant hula hoops circling the planet. This exact design is what guarantees that no matter where you are, from the middle of the ocean to the top of a mountain, you can always see at least 4 satellites. But of course, those satellites can't just run themselves.
That's the job of the control segment, which is operated by the U.S. Space Force. Think of this as the system's central nervous system. There's a master control station that's constantly getting data from 16 monitoring sites all around the world. They track every satellite's exact flight path, they check the health of their atomic clocks, and they watch for any tiny drift from things like solar wind. Then, they calculate all the corrections and beam fresh data back up to the satellites, which then broadcast that updated info down to you.
And finally, we get to the user segment. And this is just a beautiful, elegant piece of design. Your phone, your car's nav system, your watch, they are all totally passive receivers. They don't send anything back up to the satellites. They just listen. And that's the genius of it. That's why billions of us can use GPS all at the same time without ever overloading the system. It's a one-way street, and your device is just one of countless listeners, silently piecing together its location from the symphony of timing signals raining down from space.
Now, all this sounds beautifully precise, almost perfect, right? But in the real world, getting that blue dot to be accurate is a constant fight against physics and the environment, which brings us to the enemies of accuracy.
Yeah, there's a whole list of things trying to throw off that perfect calculation. The satellite clocks and orbits, even with all those corrections from the ground, can still have teeny tiny errors. The signal itself gets slowed down as it punches through our atmosphere. If you're in a big city, signals can bounce off buildings, which creates a multipath error where your phone hears both the direct signal and a slightly delayed echo. Even just the layout of the satellites in the sky matters. If they're all bunched up in one part of the sky, your position fix is going to be a lot less precise than if they're spread out. Of all these enemies, the biggest villain, at least for a standard receiver, is the Earth's own atmosphere, specifically a layer called the ionosphere. It's this layer of charged particles way up there that acts like a thick soup the GPS signal has to swim through. It slows the signal down, and that delay can mess up your position by 5 meters or even more. Now, fancy receivers can correct for this, but for most of us, this is the biggest single hurdle the system has to deal with every day. But you know what? All of those errors we just talked about, the atmosphere, the bouncing signals, the orbital drifts, they are nothing. They are tiny compared to one colossal, fundamental problem, a challenge that, if you didn't correct for it, would make the entire system completely useless in just minutes. This is where the story gets really, really cool. This is Einstein's invisible hand. So what is this monster error? It's not bad hardware, it's not atmospheric interference. No, it's something that's woven into the very fabric of space-time itself. The single biggest error that GPS has to fight constantly isn't about distance, it's about time. Okay, the problem comes directly from Albert Einstein's theories of relativity, and you've actually got two different effects that are fighting each other. First, you've got special relativity. That theory tells us that the faster you move, the slower time passes for you compared to someone standing still. And these GPS satellites are whipping around the Earth at almost 14,000 kilometers per hour. But then you've got general relativity. It says that gravity actually warps time, and clocks in a weaker gravitational field tick faster. And the satellites are way up high, where Earth's gravity is weaker. So which one wins? Let's put some numbers on it. Just because of their incredible speed, the satellites' atomic clocks look like they're running slow from our point of view down here. They lose about 7.2 microseconds every single day. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but in a system where every single nanosecond counts, that's a huge deal. But the effect from general relativity is way, way stronger. Because those satellites are in a weaker gravitational field, their clocks seem to run fast to us. They gain a massive 45.8 microseconds every day compared to clocks here on the ground. So you just do the math. You take the 45.8 they gain, subtract the 7.2 they lose, and you get a net gain. Every single day, each satellite's atomic clock gets ahead of a clock on Earth by about 38.6 microseconds. That's 38,600 nanoseconds. So what? Who cares about 38 microseconds? Well, here's why you should care. Remember, distance is just time multiplied by the speed of light. An error of 38.6 microseconds would translate into a position error that grows at a rate of over 11 kilometers every single day. Your GPS would be useless for navigation almost instantly. And this is not some theoretical what-if problem. This is a real-world engineering problem they solve every second of every day. The system is actively, continuously correcting for relativity. In fact, it's so critical that without these corrections, the entire system would fail in just 2 minutes. That's why, before they even launch the satellites, they detune the clocks. They literally build them to run a tiny bit slow on the ground so that once they get into orbit,
The effects of relativity make them tick at the perfect rate from our perspective. GPS is, without a doubt, the most incredible everyday proof of Einstein's theories. Without them, it just doesn't work. Period.
Now, while we've been saying GPS this whole time, it's really important to know that the US system is no longer the only game in town. We now live in a world with a whole team up in the sky.
The real nerdy term for all these systems is GNSS, which stands for Global Navigation Satellite System. GPS was the first, and it's the one everybody knows, but it's really just the American brand name for a GNSS. Most modern phones don't just listen for GPS anymore, they listen for any GNSS signal they can grab.
And here are the other big players on the global stage. Russia has its GLONASS system, which works especially well in the polar regions. The European Union runs Galileo, which is pretty unique because it's civilian-controlled and offers super high accuracy to the public. And China has its Beidou system, which uses a really clever hybrid design for both global coverage and better regional service. Your phone is probably using signals from all of these at the same time, which is why it can get a lock so much faster and more reliably, especially in a city where buildings might be blocking some of the sky. But of course, this technology never, ever stands still. The system that guided us around in the 1990s is ancient history compared to what we use today. So let's take a quick look at the future of wear.
You can really see the evolution just looking at this timeline. GPS satellites are launched in generations, or blocks, and each new block adds new features. The early ones in the 90s just did the basics. Then, in 2005, a new generation started broadcasting a second civilian signal, which let receivers get a better fix on that atmospheric error we talked about. The next block added a third signal, a protected frequency just for things like aviation. And the current GPS-3 satellites, they offer 3 times better accuracy and are way more resistant to jamming. And the next generation, GPS IFU, is already on the drawing board.
And this isn't ancient history, this is happening right now. The Space Force is in the middle of launching the last of these powerful GPS-3 satellites, with the final one scheduled to go up in early 2026. This is a massive upgrade to the whole constellation, and it's already setting the stage for the even more advanced GPS-IF satellites, which are being designed with new tricks like high-powered regional beams to punch through jamming in a conflict.
So the next time you see that little blue dot on your screen, maybe you'll see it a little differently. Not just as a dot on a map, but as the end result of this constant celestial ballet, a global ground-based brain, and the practical application of the deepest laws of physics. It's a system that doesn't just power our maps, but also global shipping, financial markets, even power grids. Which leaves us with one last, pretty big question. Our entire modern world has been built on this invisible, space-based utility. What happens if, even for just a day, it goes away?